Welcome to the first episode of my new sawmill shack build. And of course, one of the first things that we have to do when we're building any kind of structure is start with the footings. So I'm simply laying out a string line, nothing really too complicated. And I'm just marking out my spots where I'm gonna make my concrete piers for the front of the mill shed. We're lucky in our area of Ontario that the earth is very sandy, so it's relatively easy to dig. There's not too many rocks, and it's not clay. So I just use this handheld one-man auger for the earth, and it works pretty well. Odd time I'll catch a root or something, but for the most part it does the job for me, and I've had this for many years now, and I've used it on many projects. I'm also going to be using these builder tubes, sometimes they're known as sonotubes. I have the 10-inch kind, and this is a 4-foot piece, so I don't know if I need to go 4 feet, but basically because it's a 4-foot, our frost line area here is approximately 36 to 40 inches, maybe 42. So I always just like to go to 48 inches just to be safe. The hole probably won't be exactly 48 inches just because I'm probably gonna leave it out of the soil maybe a few inches. So the final depth of the hole will probably be somewhere around the 42 to 44 inches, and that's more than good for our area. Also, the handheld auger that I have is only an 8-inch, and I wanted to go with a 10-inch sonotube. So I do have my clams that I'm going to help dig out the rest of the soil because I need to make the hole a little bit wider. But at least that gives me a good head start. What I'll do too is flare out the bottom with the shovel to just take out some more dirt so that the bottom of the hole is just a little bit wider than the sonotube, and then that'll get stuffed with concrete and it'll just make it stronger. It won't have any way to sink down if it wants to. At first I was going to attach the beams straight to the workshop structure here, and I started using my little auger machine, but the muffler was right there and I kind of screwed up the wood a little bit, so I stopped as soon as I saw the heat from the muffler was burning the wood. I'll have to sand that down to try to make it look good again, but I'm going to have to do this hole by hand. That's okay though. It's only 2 holes by hand, and the rest I'll be able to get fairly deep with that auger. So check this out. We now have 8 of the concrete piers done, and in between that one and that one over there is 24 feet, and that's going to be the big huge beam. This is obviously the front of the sawmill shelter. Then I have another row of columns on this side. From one end of our workshop here to the other end of this new sawmill shelter is 45 feet. But I wanted to show you the 2 different types of brackets I'm going to be using on the concrete piers. This one here is just from the Home Depot. It's for a 6x6 post, and you can see it's basically raised up so it doesn't really sit on the concrete itself, and it's just got a couple of holes there, I guess, for you to screw it down. And if you really want, you can put one of those true bolts in there and really bolt this sucker down. But then there's this cheapy kind, and when I say cheapy kind, I mean this is like $8 and this is $30, so it's a huge difference. On my sawmill shelter build here, it's 14 concrete piers, so I didn't really want to go with 14 of these bad boys. I just got 4 of these to do the front, because that's most likely to be exposed to the weather, and I thought this would be a little bit better for the front, and plus they're taller poles. But this is not going to touch the weather. These are going to be shorter poles. This is just honestly a way to keep the bottom of the post secure while you're plumbing it and leveling it. One of the difficulties I found in putting this concrete pier right close to the workshop is obviously I wanted the post to be right up against the wall of the workshop and then sitting on top of the concrete pier. Usually you want this to be in the center, which would be somewhere around there. I wish I could have been able to do it like that so that the post itself can be right up against this, and that obviously will carry up to the height of wherever I want it. So if I end up going like this, then that's not really that great. You know, there's going to be a gap all the way up. So I think I might just cheat a little and put this like this. I think it's still okay, because really this edge is going to be right on this edge of the concrete pier, and I will be mounting it with brackets to the wall too, so it's going to end up being okay, I think. I'm just trying to do my best here to cut through this post as flush as I can. The chainsaw just doesn't seem to get it perfectly straight, and I don't have one of those jigs made up. So it is what it is. I'll get this up and get it plumbed to figure out how am I gonna mount it. These 2 posts that are going to go right alongside the existing workshop, they're probably the easiest posts to do because I shouldn't have much plumbing to do this way, only north to south. But I do have to contend with this little piece of trim that I had already installed. Now that I have it in and plumb, I'm just going to put a temporary screw on until I can get a nice bracket installed. It's my first post and I screwed up a little bit because, you know, I shouldn't have cut this thing so wide. I measured from here. I'm so stupid I didn't account for this little curve right here, but it is what it is. It's fine. At least it's up and it's plumb and it's looking good. There you go, strong as an ox. That's a nice maple post. Before I go ahead and bolt on all of these brackets, I'm just doing another string line because you want to line it up as best as you can in a straight line. So, you know, like that's hitting. And I already installed that one. This one's not perfectly centered. You can see this cement should have been a little bit more. I think it'll still be okay, but what are you going to do? At this point, it's done. Just need to get it as centered as possible. I need 122.5 inches right here. And I guess the dilemma in trying to cut this kind of long log is getting this cut exactly straight. And I mean, I can put these lines all around the edge and it's not easy. You got to try to get the chainsaw there and it just doesn't go perfectly with the chainsaw. That's not too bad. There's a little bit of a lip, maybe a millimeter, but it's not too bad. This is a solid maple post, so it does get quite heavy. Right now, as it stands, it's 5.5 inches by 6 inches, and that's so that it can fit into the bracket on the concrete pier. I had to cut around the roof right there just to make it flush with the workshop and flush with the wall of the workshop. So it is what it is. It's just when you're working around an existing structure like this. Hey, how are you? I got one more screw to put on. Hold on. I got one more screw to put on. Don't nick me. There you go. Not that bad. I couldn't get this any closer to the wall. That's why it's not centered. It'll still be okay, but don't forget it's going to be mounted to this, so this is holding the brunt of the weight. But also, somewhere up here, I'm going to put one of those black brackets. I'm trying to get one or two of these posts up before the rain comes, because it's coming. These are the two easiest posts, obviously. That's the front post, and that's the middle post. I have yet to even do the holes for the back post. That can happen later. Right now, I'm just trying to get the actual structure over the mill done to keep it out of the rain. And as we move into the winter and get snow and whatnot, I can work on the rest. I think building this structure is, I don't know, not even a month maybe. It's like all it is 4 legs, a bunch of beams and roof rafters, and then a roof. The metal roof goes on relatively quick. So I'm not really worried about all of that. The part that's hard at this point in the game is that I need trees. I need to be able to get these beams and posts and whatnot. So that's what's really going to hold everything up. And I am building this completely green. It's not like this stuff is completely dried out. How do you think our homesteading ancestors build their cabins and their homes, right? They came to a forested area, they cleared all the trees, and they built their home like right away. But I got these beams and posts sitting here. There is a little bit of checking. Checking is the cracking, but I don't believe that it affects the actual integrity unless it's like a serious crack. I think I'll be okay in building that kind of size of a beam and posts like this. It's not really an issue. It will shrink a little bit, but I'm not worried about it. The thing that you're more worried about are the wall boards, like that kind of board. You see that? That's when you get into like something like an inch or less, you'll get warping, you'll get cupping, you'll get splitting, and you have to, if you want to build with green planks like that, there's a special way you have to do it. And I mean, I don't even know if I'll get into all of that before the winter, because that can happen later. I'll try my best though, but we'll see how it goes. Or if I have to sneak the excavator in and around the back, and that's why I cleared up all this area looking nice, so the excavator can come in here and help me get the beam up here. But I got to get this section on first so that I can still maneuver my equipment before I get this one on. Here we go. It's pretty well lined up to the edge of the thing, so when I put the post there, I can just swivel this up and then plumb and level it. Look at that balance. Perfectly straight pier, perfectly straight post, and it's not tipping over. Do I know what I'm doing or what? Okay. That's pretty perfect right there. And there you have it. The first standalone post, perfectly plumb. Now I got to do the other one. And then the third one. It's going to be fun. Stick with me. I have these 16-foot 2x8s left over from when I built this workshop last year. So I'm just going to use this as the level. I'll put it up on the one side of the post that I know I want to measure from and just mark it. Quite simple really. And just mark it. What do you think? Does that look level? It's the first piece, so we need it to be level. Well, I think it's level. It's perfect. So I'm just going to mark it here, take off the 2x8, and get it cut. Had to get the sawmill going again to get this down to 5.5 inches so it'll fit in that bracket. I didn't figure that out properly. I was just doing true 6x6s, you know. This post here is an oak, so it's extra heavy. This was the very first post that I made on my sawmill. The other posts were maple. Okay. Okay. Oh, exactamundo. Perfecto. Here, I got that one all leveled off too. I just need to mark it there, take that 2x8 off, and then cut it. And then these 3 posts will be perfectly level. Here we go. It's not right. A little bit up. Okay, that's about right there. Oh, that one turned out nice and smooth. This is where we're at. I got that post done and cut. I got this post done and cut, and that post done and cut. And we have that post that's stuck on the wall. I just got to get my sawmill cleaned up here because you see those dark clouds? Well, you can't even see it on camera. It's going to rain like in about 5 minutes, so it's interrupting my workflow. I didn't really think about this, but this is the low part of the sawmill shed area, and then each post is getting a little bit shorter because it's uphill, but I think it'll be okay, but I hadn't really realized that by the time you get over to this second post, the top of this is pretty much level with the top of the mill. Now there's going to be a 10-inch beam on here, so that's another 10 inches. And on top of that, there's going to be 8-inch rafters. I didn't think about that, but I think we'll be okay. Oops. It's basically because this entire area right here, starting from right there over here, is downhill. So I couldn't very well start the post over there and then work my way this way. I had to line up with the workshop here and work my way this way going uphill. Because if I had started on that side and made it, I don't know, let's say 9 feet, by the time I get over there, it's going to be like 10.5 feet, and it's going to be taller than the workshop roof. So I wanted to try to match it up with the height of the workshop roof just to make it nice, like aesthetically pleasing, you know? I think it would be dumb if the sawmill shed was higher than that roof. Anyways, I think we'll be okay. Yeah. Nice little rainstorm right now. Woo-wee! Good thing I got my mill covered. I gotta protect my investment.